The stick with the hook on the end is called a gaff. Kevin grabbed the line and he puts it around a small pulley called the davit, D-A-V-I-T. And then the line goes around the big wheel in front of him, known as the hydraulic pot holder. That small buoy is a toggle that keeps the line from getting tangled in the rock.
Look at that, Zach.
It's right here. You guys see better here.
Oh, look at all the trees.
Too small, they gotta go back. It's too big, they gotta go back.
Oh yeah, because that's what the gauge is for.
Yeah, that's our now. They're cannibals, I think, too. Big flowers. What's your feet?
No wonder. It's a mother with babies. She's getting her very first V-notch. That notch will stay with her for the rest of her life. All that black stuff underneath there are eggs.
Oh, wow.
And the females with eggs are very protective, shall we say.
You guys got nice wheels out there.
How many do they?
How many eggs are in there?
There's thousands. Only 1 out of 1,000 they'll survive.
Wow.
So, out of all of those, like you're looking at maybe 1 or 2 that'll survive.
Just predators.
Right off that other one.
Right off.
Right now I can't do it.
You know, it's too small.
They're just a body part.
Not doing too well yet.
Each time the lobster hauls his trap, he has to change the bait. Lobsters have a very keen sense of smell. A lobster can smell under the water as well as we humans smell in the air. And that's what attracts them into the trap, the bait. Any oily fish can be used. I'll give you some examples. Cod, herring, mackerel, redfish, pollock. We average running the same trap every 3rd day. And by that length of time, the oiliness will be gone. And should they not smell the bait, the lobsters have no reason to enter the trap. So just walk on by it.
big enough, and she's coming out to dinner with me later.
Look at you.
Kevin puts the bands on the claws for an obvious reason, to protect the handle of the lobster. Also, lobsters are cannibalistic, and without bands and a little tank like this gray one up here, they could attack each other. By the way, lobsters have the ability to grow back claws, antennae, and legs.
This young lady has a small indentation in that flipper. Someone might have notched it, or it might be just something that happened, but it doesn't matter. Anything at all on that one flipper, they have to be thrown back.
Why is that?
That's because only half the females can breed, so when we find one that does, we notch it, and she's protected for life. But occasionally they...
Half the female? So you don't take females?
We do, but only the ones that we don't know that can breed. This one here is very unique in that, you know how they can regrow claws? There's a brand new leg growing right there. You can just see it starting to grow. And that's a girl. So she is growing a brand new arm.
How can you tell it's a girl?
Look how pretty she is, honey.
Just gonna
There's a very distinct anatomical feature that distinguishes the boys from the girls, but I'm not going to show that to you because that's the highlight of his entire existence. But before you get off the boat, he's going to show you.
Speaking of highlights of total existence, you see that seagull on the bow. The only reason that exists is to interrupt our conversation with you guys. So, goodbye.
Here you go.
There you go. Don't come back. But he will. Or she will.
Darn it. Poked myself with a fishbone.
Ouch.
I'm going to get gangrene now and die.
Every single one of the 800. It's going to be a long day. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see what we got, huh? Gold coins?
How often do you pull these up?
Yeah, they said,
Small ones.
I know they said that the bait.
How often do you guys pull the traps? That are too small right now, like this one. They are coming in here to molt. After they molt, they'll increase in size by 20%. So this will be a keeper in September. So I'll see you later.
Did you put them on a line till then?
They somehow manage to find their way back. These are all small.
How often do you guys bolt the traps?
About every 3 or 4 days. Now the way the trap operates, the section of the trap where the bait is known as the kitchen. The lobsters smell the bait. They have an extremely sensitive sense of smell. They walk over to the trap, they enter the kitchen through these openings called kitchen heads. They go in, they nibble on the bait for a while. When they go to leave, it's difficult for them to get up and over these upward sloping nets. But over here is a very easy exit. They take this path, and you may have noticed all the lobsters are over here. This is the parlor. Once they're in the parlor, we had always assumed they were permanently caught. However, researchers put cameras inside traps, and about 75% of all lobsters go in and out freely. They're not fooled by it at all. In the parlor, however, the ones that do get fooled, you'll notice there's pieces of plastic with holes in it. These openings correspond with undersized lobsters. We can't keep the little ones, we want them to get out. And so if they try hard enough, the small lobsters should be able to fit through thing. One of these, it's the one right here on top, held on with a very low-grade steel. It's specifically designed to fall off the traps. And that's because we lose about 10% of our traps every year. You don't want them out there continuously catching wildlife. So this will fall off, and that makes the opening so large that anything that can fit through here can escape through here. And that's referred to as the ghost trap wall. The bricks, so it lands flat. If it lands upside down or on its end, it doesn't work at all. And this is the same principal design that the Native Americans were using when the first Europeans arrived. They were catching lobsters hundreds of years ago with wooden fries. Any questions about the tribe?
How many do you set in an area?
Pardon me?
How many do you put out in one area?
You can have up to 800 commercial fishermen. We don't have nearly that many.
Do you know how the Native Americans prepared the lobsters? Did they boil them, or
I
how
have
did they
no
eat?
idea.
No.
But I do know that the early Europeans that came here didn't like lobster at all. The early recipes called for them to be boiled for like 3 hours.
Oh wow.
So it was probably like eating a piece of leather. You know, I boil a lobster for like 12 minutes. I do know that along the coast they found these huge mounds of clam shells and lobster shells and stuff that the Native Americans, they probably steamed them. They probably put them in the ground and built a fire on top, and then all these sound delicious to me. You're making me hungry. I do know that they did not microwave them.
Let me add to what Kevin told you about molting. In the wintertime, the lobsters will migrate about 6 to 10 miles offshore because the water out there is deeper and relatively warmer. Late spring, they come back toward the shoreline and they molt. Molting means they shed their shells. They have to do that to grow. After the breeding female molt, it has 36 hours to hook up with the male. She'll then carry the male sperm for a year. Then she'll pass the sperm over eggs, fertilizing the eggs, carry those for another year. And the pregnant lobster that Kevin brought around to show everybody, that's what it looks like. And then she'll release the eggs, and the odds are very long. I think I heard Kevin say something in the back of the stern. But the odds are very long. Only 1 in 1,000 eggs will survive to become a legal-sized lobster. Fortunately, she has anywhere from 3,000 to well over 100,000 eggs in her tail, depending upon her size.
That's Michael Ware. He's a commercial fisherman. He was on the list to get his lobster license, but there's a long, long waiting period. He turned 70 2 years ago. Once you're 70 or older, you don't need a license. So he started his lobster career at 70. He's also the husband of one of our crew members.